Hello, everyone. I'm Kaela Hansen, your co-host at the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Channing Chasten. Channing previously played with Phoenix Rising FC, which is part of the USL Championship, and he is now currently the author of The 1% Kid and co-founder of 1% Kid Academy, as well as a motivational speaker and entrepreneur. Channing, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. How are you?
Thanks, Kayla. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing great. It's a blessed
Good.
day, so I can't complain.
I was hoping that we could start with when you were playing with Phoenix Rising. I know it was a significant chapter in your career, and you made your professional debut in 2022. Am I correct?
I did. Yeah, I made it against Monterey Bay FC. Wasn't had no expectations of playing. Like I was in the roster for the game, but didn't really think I was gonna play. But yeah, they were like, Channing, come up, called my name, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow. So it was an amazing experience.
Well, that's amazing though, because as a soccer player, you should know, even if you're not starting, you always have to be ready to go on the field. And I have no doubt you probably killed it.
Yeah, I think I got to come in like the last like 10 minutes. So last like it was like probably 80th minute.
Yeah.
Um, I was nervous for sure at first, but
Mhm.
yeah, I was ready because of all the preparation that coaches and my teammates like lifted me up. But yeah, it was an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, I can't imagine. What were some key takeaways from your time playing professionally, and how did that experience impact your future endeavors?
Yeah, I would say definitely some of the key takeaways I took from playing pro was just the the level. I know you played college soccer, but I feel like when you go pro, it goes up a notch, right?
Mhm.
Like your only job is soccer. Even though I graduated a year after, I was still playing. So I left college after my junior year, so I still had a year left of school.
Mhm.
So I had to go through that and do school during my rookie year, but they don't care about that. Like soccer is your
Yeah.
job at that point. Like, people can take your position and you get to it up a notch when it comes to professionalism. Like every day, like you're in there to like ball out. Like you're not in college soccer where some kids are there just to have fun, get their scholarship, go to school for free, whatever. No, like these people for their paycheck, for their families. So I had to get it up a notch in practice, had to get up a notch in my professionals when it came to taking care of my body, which are all things I've been able to use into like the entrepreneur life and business life with
Mhm.
like being on time, being punctual, being professional. And
Mhm.
I feel like those are things that I really learned with playing for Phoenix Rising and playing professionally. It's just how to like carry myself in the professional development.
Mhm. And I feel like too, being like a student athlete is very mentally, not only physically, but like mentally draining too. Like, because I did 5 years in University of Kansas and stuff like that. And my major was sports management, but just trying to keep up with your classes while having 2 games a week and going on away trips and missing classes and having to study. It takes a mental toll on you. But I also feel like too, just speaking, not speaking for everyone, but at least speaking for myself, I feel like in some instances, coaches really don't sometimes don't care, and especially maybe in the pro, don't really care about the student part. And they're more so care about the athlete part. Like you're an athlete, they have you're an athlete first mindset.
100%.
But I get what you're saying, but I bet you did perfectly fine. Like, I mean, look at you now, you're literally an author and a motivational speaker. So you literally proved and showed that you can literally do both, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And like you said, like when I feel like playing Division 1, like everyone's like, oh, I want to play D1, like, oh, I want to play D1. But they don't really know it like comes with it. Like you literally have like two full-time jobs. Like
Mhm.
you're playing your sport, which is like taking up probably 6 hours of your day. And then the
Mhm.
other half, like your other probably 6 hours, you're in classes. And it's the worst when like you're on a away trip, you get back at like 2 a.m. and you have an 8 a.m. class. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know how it was like this, but
8 a.m.
our coaches were like strict. They were like, nah, like you guys better be in class. I don't care we got in late. Like you guys better be there. So I was like, all right, I gotta be there. So
That
yeah,
was
it's definitely a grind, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I loved it, but I feel like it takes a certain type of person to be able to play like at that level for sure.
those 8 a.m. classes were literally, I don't know what, I'm low-key kind of traumatized from them. Those at 8 a.m. classes in the morning sucked.
Right? And it's
But you
so crazy
had
because
to
like
go.
for high school, I used to have to get up at like I used to have to be at school at like 7:15. So I'm like, how is it that 8 a.m. classes are so much worse? I don't know. It was just so much worse than like getting it
No.
for high school.
I feel that, but that's like kind of the nice thing when you're like playing pro. I know like you still had to like finish another year even though you were like playing with Phoenix, but like the kind of nice thing is like you don't have to worry about that school stuff anymore. You can just go to training and work out for 3 hours and then you're like done for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
Crazy. Okay, so moving on kind of to now talking about your book. In your memoir, The 1% Kid, you talk about the relentless pursuit of excellence. Can you share a pivotal moment in your soccer career that really put this mindset to the test, and how did it help you overcome the challenge?
Yeah, I would definitely say I have a couple instances in my life where I've had to persevere to like kind of reach excellence. And when I talk about excellence, I kind of think it's just like continuous improvement to get 1% better every day, which is kind of why the book's named The 1% Kid. But I would say a specific instance in my life is probably mm, in high school. I was committed to Ohio State after my sophomore year,
Mhm.
and then going into I think it was my senior year, I get word that the Ohio State coach that recruited me and the whole coaching staff is like retiring. So like my dream school was Ohio State. So all of a sudden, like, I have to decommit from Ohio State. Like I didn't know what to do, and
Mhm.
then it really was a test to me. Like I felt so down. Like, man, should I keep going? Like I don't know if I'll still be able to play at Ohio State. But I feel like when you have those challenges like that, you can either like stop and quit, or you can like
Mhm.
push through and keep going. So for me, it was like I want to push through and keep going and really get better as a player and as a person, just to make sure that when this new coaching staff, if they reach out to me, like I can make sure I make a good impression and I'm balling out.
Mhm.
So like 3 months later, I get a call from the new Ohio State coach who comes from Indiana, which like Indiana for men's soccer is like the Alabama of like football. Like they're so
Mhm.
good at soccer. So he came and he was like, "Hey, we see you're the only kid committed. Like, we would like to see you play." So I had to go to the Indiana ID camp to go out there, and like he was my coach for the entire week. Like, all eyes were on me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I was so
Mhm.
nervous, but the work I put in after I found out the old coach staff was leaving paid off because I performed so well at camp, got offensive player of the award for that camp. And it's like that would never have happened if I didn't like persevere and always strive to get better every day or strive for that excellence.
Mhm.
So I was kind of an example right there.
Mhm. Because it's so much easier to just give up and quit, but it like the real work gets tested when you actually have to like prove yourself and show yourself. What conference were you guys in?
We were in the Big Ten, so we
Big
played
Ten.
like
Oh, you're a Power Five school as well.
yeah, so we were playing like Indiana, Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland. Like we were playing some really good teams. Yeah.
But I was just saying how like it's crazy how like now the conferences have changed because I was in Big 12 and now we went from like I forgot we went from like 9 or 10 teams and now there's like 16 teams or something like that in our conference because they like cut one out. I don't know how many teams or if you keep up with that anymore are like in the Big Ten and stuff like that, but I think they like remove one. But now I feel like the pools of how many teams are in there are so much more larger.
Yeah, it is like for us, the Big Ten, they added Washington, UCLA, USC, and Oregon. But for men, they only have UCLA and Washington. And I got to give a shout out to my team, Ohio State. They're ranked number one in the country right now, so I had to give a shout out to them. Go Bucks.
Fair enough. They're not in my conference, so I won't say anything.
That's
Also,
all right.
do you know Dalen?
Yeah, Dalen Velios. He was on Ohio State with me. That's my guy. He's a dog for sure. That's what we like to call each other. But yeah, he's having a great season this year too. So I'm hoping
Mhm.
he gets to make his dream a reality and play pro this upcoming season.
Yeah, small world, because I knew him too, because we both played, he's from where I'm from in Canada, and we both played on Whitecaps. He played on the boys' side and I played on the
Yeah,
women's side. Small world. Okay.
right.
So you transitioned from a professional soccer player to an author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. What was that like emotional, mental process like for you in accepting this new path and turning it into an opportunity?
Yeah, I think it was definitely kind of difficult at first. Like after I left Phoenix Rising,
Hmm.
a pretty kind of unfortunate situation. Like I don't blame anyone, but it's the business, that's how things go.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then I had got a couple offers from other USL Championship, USL League One teams, but it just wasn't the right opportunity for me. And I was like, man, how can I turn this challenge, or how can I pivot and do something else that I'm truly passionate about? So soccer has been my number one love, still is, and passion. But another thing I'm passionate about is inspiring the youth and figuring out ways to have them to reach their goals, right? So for me, it was being a motivational speaker, which I never knew like you could actually make a living doing that, but you can. And I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool like avenue that I really enjoy. And then being an entrepreneur, I just have always been like fantasized about business and interested in it and like the ins and outs of how people like build their businesses and things like that. So I was super interested in that. So those are two things I'm passionate about, and then I'm able to combine kind of into one. Um, and then like with me, I still play soccer, still like work out all the time because like when you have that D1 mindset or like professionalism, like it's so hard to like take that out of you. Like I gotta sometimes like dial it down a little bit. But for me, it's also like staying ready. I've had some teams like kind of reach out, so I still like play in a league for fun, to stay fit. But so if it's like the right opportunity, I'll go back to playing. But
Mhm.
if not for right now, like I really enjoy like building up my businesses and being able to do both at once. And then at some point for the right opportunity, I can like kind of have the business go by itself and still play. So we'll see. But it was definitely difficult to transition to that. But it was easier because I was going from one passion to another.
Yeah, and honestly, I like firmly believe in like, what's meant for you, will find you and stuff like that. And maybe this was your calling for right now. And you like, you're still so young, like you're 24 as well. So you still have like, you're 24 and you're literally an author of a book, and that's literally amazing. But like you still have like so much time to like, if you decide to want to go back, you can like always go back. And the nice thing
Right.
is you're like not too far away. You're still working within sport, just like not on the field anymore, off the field, kind of more behind the scenes, but it's still related to sport. And you're still like helping like young children like figure out their dreams, and also helping them, give them opportunities as well to, get the same opportunities that you got, which is amazing, truly.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
am
Yeah.
amazed. I really
I,
am.
I appreciate the kind words. Isn't it kind of crazy though? Like when you're 24, like you feel young, but you also feel like kind of old too. Like I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way. For me,
Well,
sometimes I'm like,
mentally, sorry, but mentally, I feel like in some instances, I'm like not 24, if that makes sense. Like I feel like I'm a very young at heart person and stuff like that. But then I don't know, when we were on the call with Kareem and you were talking about like, oh, you're an author of this book, and that made me feel old because I was like, damn, like you're already writing a book and doing all this amazing stuff at like 24. I'm like, I need to start thinking about what I want to do after soccer soon.
no,
But
I hear
no,
you. No,
like, I mean, I guess you're never too young or old to do what you love. So,
yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like I'm just like kind of how you said, like everything happens for a reason. And I feel like I'm always in like, I feel like there's like seasons of life. And I feel like for me, I'm just in a season of like growing and self-development, kind of improving myself in all ways in one. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I used to think that like I'm old as 24, but now I'm just like, man, I'm just happy to be here. Like I'm just happy to be alive.
I'm just happy to be here for the ride.
I'm still young, and I'm the same way though. Like I feel like yeah, I'm 24 and like I'm doing some cool things. Like there's still a long way to go, but like I still feel like a child at heart like all the
Oh yeah,
time.
and you always will be. That never goes away.
Yeah,
And you're still really young. I mean, if there's older listeners out here, they're probably listening to us like they're only 24. They're like they're so young. What are they talking about that they're old?
great, great.
Okay. So you're also the founder of Real Life of Juice LLC. I saw that, and
Yeah,
co-founder of the 1% Kid Academy. So you've combined your passion for sports and mentorship kind of together. How do you integrate the life lessons from your soccer career into your work with young athletes and aspiring professionals?
yeah. I would say for me, it's definitely like what it takes. Like I've always been passionate about goal setting ever since I was like a young
Mhm.
kid. I had like I wrote my dreams and goals down, and I would put it above my bed to like fall asleep and wake up to. So for me, it was like I'm super passionate, and I realized how much goal setting did for me. So now it's like kind of instilling those characteristics in these kids nowadays that like, hey, if you have a goal or you have a dream, like you can achieve it, but you have to set these goals and you have to have a plan to reach those goals. And you also have to have the right mindset to reach those dreams and goals. So that's kind of how like I kind of instilled that into those kids is like realizing you're capable of anything, but you have to have the right mindset when you're chasing those dreams and goals. Because if you don't, in all reality, you're probably not going to reach the dream or goal that you set for yourself.
Hmm. What age group do you like work with kids? Is it like all ages?
Yeah, all ages. Like I just spoke to a junior high last week, Willis Junior High, and then I actually spoke to my old high school 2 weeks ago, which was like a full circle moment, which was kind of crazy. Like I
Mhm.
was just in your guys' seats like not that long ago, I swear. So it was crazy. But yeah, all ages from like I wouldn't say too young, like infants or like babies. That's like little,
Mhm.
they can
Was it
understand what I'm
a
talking about.
was it a nostalgic moment though, doing like talking at your old high school?
Yeah, very nostalgic. I know for me, like my high schools hold like a really like strong place in my heart. And for me, like I got to win state there. I was an All-American there. But for me, like my dream is to like have like that stadium named after me, like the field named after me. So there's still
Mhm.
a long way to go. Still a long way to go.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, the nice thing is now too is that I feel like you're never too young to, know what you want to do with yourself and stuff like that. And also too, I feel like there's so many more outlets and connections and routes that, young kids or like aspiring professionals, whatever that is, whether it's with soccer or behind the scenes of sports and stuff like that, can get to their dream now. There's so many more opportunities, and I feel like than when we were younger now that, kids could get to like is like what you're doing right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just feel like we didn't have as many, or at least speaking for me, but like we didn't have as many like opportunities to like get to where we want to be. Like we were called, I feel we were like called like that's oh my gosh, this is like a full circle moment. We were called, our like class was like called like the 1% kids.
That's crazy.
That, no,
Look
I
at the
literally just thought about that right now. We were literally, I'm not even lying to you. We were literally called like the 1% kids because like I think at least in Canada, like it's so hard, like not many like soccer players get to go professional D1 in US and then end up going professional afterwards. So like I guess like that's why we're called the 1% because there wasn't as many opportunities, but now it's just so much more different. Like there's so many more outlets that you can go down like different paths. It doesn't necessarily have to be one path where you can like get to where you want to be. So
I
that's
agree. I agree. Like I don't know for especially like the men's side, like a lot of kids aren't even going to college anymore. A lot of kids are just going straight to academy or straight to like pro and
Mhm.
playing like MLS next pro teams or just going straight to the first team. Which I mean, it comes with like I feel like both it's like pluses and like net positive and negatives because I definitely think for me like going to college was a benefit for me, like able to get my degree, my education, like the friends I met. Like I don't know about you, but like the friends you make in college like are like I don't know. Those are like lifelong friends. Like it just like right now, it's just making me like, dang, like I miss them. But like those, so I would never change that for the world. Like even if I was to do it all over again, I'm definitely going to college. I don't know if it's like for a whole 4 years or 3 years again, but like, I'm definitely going to college again. So like, I feel like some of these kids are just going pro in these different avenues. Like, I feel they're kind of missing out on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, like at the end of the day, people will make like their own decisions and do what works best for them. But like just personally for me, I feel like college is definitely an experience that I feel like all like soccer players should experience because not only just the atmosphere of playing like D1 soccer, but just like the people you meet there and like, the events you do and even like, the social aspect, like all that I feel like, it stays with you and it goes by so quick too. Like it, and I feel like that's a very pivotal time in I feel like someone's life that I feel like they should experience. So I agree with you
Agree.
in that aspect. But I mean, like we could always go back to college whenever we want and stuff like that. And
That's true.
I can understand how, sometimes if someone has an opportunity to, maybe not go to college, just go straight pro or like go for a few years and then kind of leave like you did and stuff like that, you have to take it. Like, you never know if you'll get another opportunity like that, or if it'll come, and sometimes you just had to jump at it and take it.
That is very true. Yeah. And I
Hmm.
feel like in soccer, playing soccer at the college level, you learn a lot of life lessons. Like, I don't know, like time management, things like that, which you wouldn't learn as much like outside
Hmm.
of college.
Accountability, responsibility. You definitely do
Right.
like a lot of the things you take into like a career outside of like off the field of your sport, you definitely learn from like your sport for sure.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
agree. So you've mentioned that helping young children and being a role model is one of your passions. How does your work now, especially with your book, The 1% Kid, contribute to inspiring the next generation of dreamers?
Yeah. So I have it right here. This is the book. The 1% Kid looks like me on the cover. Kind
That's
of. But
amazing.
oh,
I love the graphics on it. It looks really good.
thank you. Yeah, I think for me, it's super inspiring because I'll have kids that I read to, or kids that have read the book, and they'll come up to me and they'll notice me and they'll be like, "Oh my God, like, was this story actually about you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was." And I'll ask them like, "What was your favorite part of the book?" Like I'm testing them, like, "Did you actually read the book?" And they were like, they'll actually recall it. They'll actually recall it. They'll be like, "When you scored in the state championship game," and I'm like, "Wow, like that's amazing." And then I also quiz them. I'll be like, "What were the three P's in the book?" So the three P's in the book are practice, perseverance, and patience. So
Hmm.
like that's talk about that because like that's what you need to like reach your dreams and goals because you need practice, you got to work hard, put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and then you need patience, which is like you're not always gonna get things when you want them. Like like sometimes you're not gonna be starting, sometimes you're not gonna be in a starting 11,
Hmm.
sometimes you're gonna be injured, so you got to be patient, and then it's persevering. Like you're gonna have challenges, right? Whether it's an injury, whether it's your coach not seeing like what you see in yourself, things like that. But you have to persevere and keep going. So yeah, I feel like that's how it's inspired kids. Like I even had a kid yesterday. I was playing pickup soccer with some friends, and this little kid came up to me. He was like, "Hey, do you remember me?" I was like, "I think so." And he was like, "You spoke at my junior high last week." I was like, "No way, Santi." He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You inspire me. Like, I appreciate you coming to my school. Had so much fun." So yeah, those are ways where it's like super fulfilling, and I see like it's working. Like me talking to these kids and then reading my book, I feel like I never thought it would be so impactful, but I feel like the more hands it gets into, I'm realizing that it is pretty impactful for these kids.
Hmm. Well, it gives them like a role model to look up to, like in a sense, like, they're like looking at this book that you're reading and stuff like that, and they're like looking up to you and like hoping like someday that like they could be exactly like you. And I mean, like your book gives them like an outlet to do that for sure. Um,
Yeah,
you spoke a little bit about like going through injuries. You went through one, right? And with
I did.
Phoenix Rising. It was a lower body injury. Can you touch a little bit how that like affected you and what you went through and what you learned and maybe like what you overcame from it?
Oh yeah, it was a very difficult time in my life, but as soon as I knew I had to get surgery, like I just was so determined to come back and attack it, like and come back better than ever. So I was playing my rookie season. I had probably like 8 to 9 appearances before the
Hmm.
injury, which like I had my first USL start. Like my first USL start was right before I had to get surgery. So I was like, dang, like it was my first start against Memphis and Memphis. I played pretty well. So it's pretty sad, but I had this problem. Like I had this pain in my hip so bad, and I realized I've been playing on it for over like 2 years. So even when I was at Ohio State, and it turned out I had a hip impingement and a torn labrum. So they're like, "Yeah, you gotta get surgery." So the surgery went well. They said I was gonna be out for like 9 months, 9 to 10 months, and I was like, "I'm gonna come back quicker than this. Like I'm determined." So I had rehab like every day, and this was in the off season. So it was like the end of my season and then in the off season as well. So I had surgery. I had physical therapy every day, sometimes 2 times a day. Like it was a grind, but I knew like this is what it's gonna take to like come back better. And I came back actually in 6 months, and I felt super good. It took me some time to like get back to like the groove of it because you're out for so long,
Hmm.
but that's kind of why it's so unfortunate why things happen at Phoenix Rising how it happened. But it's life. But yeah, so I feel so much better now, and I feel like the surgery's been able to show me how much I'm capable of mentally and physically, and that everything happens for a reason. But
Hmm.
yeah, I learned a lot of life lessons going through that injury. even though at first it was super difficult. But yeah, so that I'm capable of anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's honestly on like your story, I feel like is very amazing to hear, and like it's a nice perspective to, hear like a different point of view because, sometimes it has to be talked about, like things like that do happen, like you get injured pretty bad and stuff like that, and sometimes it can be like the make or break if you like keep going or not. But I feel like it's important to like talk about those things and allow allow people to see, like, although like in the moment it sucks a lot probably, and it feels like it's like the end of the world, but like you learn so much about yourself as a person and like what you can get through, and you can maybe even like learn different parts about yourself that you didn't know. Like, don't let me put words into your mouth, but like even like, the injury happened, but then also I feel like it allowed you to go down a different avenue to like write your book and become a motivational speaker and an entrepreneur. It allowed you to discover more things about yourself that, maybe you wouldn't be able to do yet if you were still playing pro soccer. So that's why I'm so big on like everything happens for a reason, and like what's meant for you is for you. Like, even though, this injury happened, you turned it into a positive and you made something of it, and you came out better than ever, and you're still doing something that you love, and you found like a new passion. So I think that's important to highlight things like that because like, sometimes not everyone's going to be playing pro soccer until they're like 40 years old, or,
Right.
not
Not everyone's,
everyone's, pardon, what were you saying?
not everyone's gonna be Ronaldo.
Yeah, not everyone's going to be Ronaldo still playing at 40, still making millions of dollars.
Right. Right.
But that
Exactly.
doesn't mean that other people's journeys aren't just as amazing. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah, like I think like the fact that I was able to play pro, like my dream as a kid was to play college soccer at Ohio State and also play professionally. Like I would
Mhm.
never change it for the world. Like to the level I played at, and like it just was amazing. So yeah, I would never change it for the world. How it all happened and how the story happened. Like I've learned a lot by myself, like you said. Kind of some things I learned like that you can only learn going through those challenges. Like the good parts in my journey were good, but I feel like I learned a lot more through the tough parts and the challenges. And honestly, I
Mhm.
enjoyed the challenges. Honestly,
Well, I have one more question for you. So, with your experience as a professional athlete and entrepreneur, what's your perspective on the growth of women's soccer and the importance of empowering athletes from all backgrounds to pursue their dreams?
yeah, I'm super excited with like the growth of soccer, not only on the men's side but also the women's side. I think that's huge. I love that they're coming up with more leagues, especially in America for women's soccer,
Mhm.
because um, I saw they only had the NWSL, which was
Yeah.
kind of like they barely have any teams, they barely have any like players on the team, so it's like you need more avenues for like girls to see themselves that they can achieve it, right? So I love that they included a new league, the USL Women's League and things like that. Um, and I also think like I got to give a shout out to like one of my friends that went to Ohio State, Emma
Mhm.
Sears. She got drafted to the Racing Louisville, and now
Mhm.
she's up to like the women's national team camp. So it's like
That's amazing.
I feel like if she didn't see herself like see these opportunities as like a young girl and like how you're capable of like making it the national team now, like I feel like she would never done it. So now she's that person, that inspiration to little girls,
Mhm.
from Ohio where she's from, that like you can do it too. So like it gives these girls like another motivation to see that it's possible, right? You can play pro because there's more avenues to play pro now as a women's soccer player. So
Mhm.
yeah, no, I'm super excited about that, and I'm excited about the growth, especially now that the World Cup is going to be in the U.S. or North America
Mhm.
really soon, which is exciting. I hope they just do a good job with it because I don't know. I feel like the World Cups other places are so much more. I don't know. We'll see. I have like a love like I'll probably still go to a game, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be the same as like if it's like in Brazil or like in Russia, like those, or in the Euros when it was in Germany. That was just so
Mhm.
amazing. It's like they better like be up to par, like if they're gonna have it. So no, it's exciting though. It's exciting to see the growth
Mhm.
of soccer.
It is very exciting. I mean, like, especially like for, and like you touched on, like, they don't really have many teams and barely any players in NWSL. Like you're right in that sense because like it's so hard to get into the NWSL, like unless you have really good like accolades or like you were, the best defender or attacker of the year and stuff like that, or like you're on the national team, you necessarily have a way, way harder time getting on that. And if you're an international, you're 20,000 times harder because they don't have many international spots. So it's nice that they're expanding it to like the women's USL and now the NSL that's opening up in Canada, which is allowing more players to get the opportunity to, still play pro soccer and stuff like that and still get paid and still get that opportunity to, do what they love, which is really nice. But I like how you touched on that.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're doing it. I don't know, like, if there's more funding getting put in or things like that, but I feel like they're also noticing that, like, if you put a product on the field, with soccer, men's or women's soccer, like, people are gonna watch it. People enjoy watching good soccer, and they're realizing that, like, there's a good product on the field in women's soccer, so we gotta keep pumping more money into it, and the eyes will follow. So, yeah, I'm
Hmm.
happy they're doing that in US and in Canada.
Hmm. So, as we approach the end of our conversation, what advice would you give to athletes who are nearing the end of their playing careers or looking to transition into life after sports?
Yeah, for me, I would say, like, you never know when your career is gonna end, or like something like that. So why not do things while you're playing? Like for me, I wasn't just a soccer player, even though my main focus was always soccer and to be the best soccer player I could
Mhm.
be. But like, why just have like you know how it is when you're playing pro? Like you train for like 4 hours a day. You're at the facility for like 4 hours a day, maybe five. You come back, it's like you're just gonna sit there, like maybe work out again, but like you're just gonna sit there. Like there's something else you can do, right?
Mhm.
So find out what else you're passionate about, what else you maybe want to do or learn, um, and then that will help you once you end up stop playing soccer because you already have an idea of what you want to do. You have a passion that you can kind of follow. You have a plan that you kind of follow now too as well. So I feel like my advice is to just keep finding your passions besides soccer as well
Mhm.
and follow those passions. Like you're like you said, you're never too young or too old to follow your dreams
Mhm.
or to make your dream a reality. So I would say that's like my biggest advice. It's like do it. Like why not? What's the worst that can happen? So I'm always a firm believer that like try or and do it because you never know what could happen.
Mhm. That's amazing. I like that. Well, I just want to say thank you again for taking the time to be on the One Soccer Nation podcast with me.
Thanks, Kelly. It was a pleasure being on the One Soccer Nation podcast. We'd love to do it again.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and you enjoyed the little conversation we had.
Most definitely. Most definitely.